$5 million per month is what Shelby Sapp claims she's making with her offer. And today we're going to discover all about it, how she's doing it, her marketing, her offer, her funnel, her backend. Everything is going to be condensed into this one singular video. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mo. I've done over 600,000 for my clients and generated over 45 million views, so I know a thing or two about what I'm talking about. And today we're gonna discover all about Shelby Sapp, how she's doing it so you can implement that in your offer or in your client's offer if you're a growth operator. Now, before starting, I respect your time. I'll be putting chapters in this video, so if you're interested by a specific part or you want to skip something, feel free to do that. And without any further ado, let's jump right in. So, who is Shelby Sapp? Shelby Sapp is the founder of the She Sells Academy, which is her online program. She claims she's making up to $5 million per month. Her backstory was she started from being a minimum wage college girl without really having any background in sales or any wealthy family, just being a relatable girl. Then she started with door to door sales with, I guess, a pest control offer, something similar, until she became a millionaire businesswoman. And her whole positioning is summed up in this singular sentence, which is hot girls learn sales. What allowed her to really nail her targeting and her positioning is that when she is now addressing specifically young, ambitious women who are interested in making money and learning sales, she is talking directly to her ideal client persona. And so, how does she manage her marketing? The way she markets to herself and her offer is through her social media and some other stuff we're going to talk about them, but mainly through her Instagram, which is her biggest account, where she has 1.6 million followers and she posts almost twice to three times a day, all types of content. Now, before talking about that, let me explain this concept really quick. As we can see right here, there is a lot of tofu, mofu, bofu. Let me explain all that really quick. So, one clear notion you need to keep in mind, the clients start as a stranger. They should go through a lot of contact points and a lot of instances until they buy. So, this whole passage, or as we name it, a customer journey, is really condensed from the buyer's perspective as a funnel, where we start from the top of this funnel and then we start going step by step until we reach the bottom of the funnel, and in that moment, we buy. So, in other words, without too much technicalities, the top of the funnel is where you have a lot of, and your only job is to make people aware that you exist. In terms of social media, the top of the funnel is really concerned about getting views and going viral. The middle of the funnel, however, is where you educate people and where you teach them about what you're preaching. And the bottom of the funnel is where you clearly ask them to buy or to engage in what you are trying to sell. So, in other words, tofu or top of the funnel is the awareness stage where you have the biggest audience, the most general, and people that aren't generally interested, but it's a lot of people. The middle of the funnel or the consideration stage is where you might have targeted audience, people that are ready to be converted, but they are still in that nurturing stage. You still need to educate them and you still need to hook them until they are interested enough. So then you start selling them what you want to sell in the bottom of the funnel stage. And that is the decision stage or where they decide whether they want to close with you, with a competitor, or not close at all. So to sum up this funnel in three simple words, it's capture, nurture, close. Let me repeat it again. Capture, nurture, close. So, the way Shelby Saps does it in her Instagram is with a wide variety of all of these different types of contents. We have the tofu, the mofu, and bofu, and she used them very precisely for very specific instances. As we can see right here, the tofu, which as we discussed about virality, she posts her pink cars, her lifestyle, her flexing, but she does not put any call to action in this phase because the job of the tofu is really to just go viral and get views. And that's why we see in this phase, she appears more like a friend, someone that is relatable or inspirational, and her sole purpose is to get views. At this stage, she is not selling you anything yet. That's why we'll see her flexing her pink G Wagon, pink hammer, whatever that stuff is. She's talking about her conversation with the girls. She's talking about her my I made it moments, whatever those whatever threes in TikTok and all of that stuff. Life updates, another pink car. As we can see, all of these, none of them have really any education or any incentive for her to sell. But in the second stage, this is where she starts getting more into that nurturing phase. So the mofo, or the middle of the funnel, is where she is trying to build a connection between you and her. And in here, she is sharing her personal story, her values, her takes. And the job of her at this stage is to build trust and educate, educate, educate. That's why at this stage, she has to be given as much free value as possible, where she should seem like a smart friend or an educated aunt, really someone that just wants the better for you. That's why she is giving you all of this free value. And she should look like she knows what she's talking about. Like someone that has a lot of baggage, a lot of experience, and is just really talking for your own good. That's why in this phase, we will see most of her content is about different niches of high ticket sales, the harsh truth about networking as a woman, her going and actually doing the job, knocking door to door, talking more about high ticket sales, giving to you on high ticket sales, and talking about remote closing. All of these, she is solely giving free value, but making sure that she is building trust and educating these people, just so that they would be filtered even more, and then in the next stage she can start selling them. That's why in the bottom of the funnel, this is where she should be showing her authority. This is where she would be positioned as the businesswoman, not really your friend, not really your educated aunt. No, right here, she is now the businesswoman that made all of this money, that educated all of these closers, that is working with all of these big brands. She should seem like an authority figure, someone that you should listen to because they did it and they know what they're talking about. And then she should mainly show you that she made a solution so good, and she is showing you how good that solution really is. That's why we see in this phase, she is having objection breakdowns. She is showing closers from her academy. She is showing how her academy really looks like from the inside. She is showing how they actually do the job. She is talking about the nitty gritty of her academy. She is showing her interviews with other people where she is once again showing her authority. And in this specific stage, she is showing the business model of her She Sells Academy and remote closing and what they are doing. And the job of this phase is to prove that she is good at what she is doing, and the solution that she is providing, which is the She Sells Academy, is perfect for you to follow and to obtain. So, with all this said, going back through this little graph, as we saw that there is a wide variety of usage between them, but this usage usually follows a format. It's different between Instagram, TikTok, and the other medias, but in Instagram specifically, it is following a 40-40-20. 40% for Mofu, 40% for Tofu, and 20% for Bofu. Why is that? The thing about Instagram audiences, even if they are varied, but they overwhelmingly take action. What do I mean by that? Most of Instagram audiences are okay with replying to stories, replying to posts, liking, commenting, because this is how Instagram is built, and most people use these to push their offers, and this is exactly what Shelby Sapp is using for her offers. That's why in all of her Mofu and Bofu content, we will see that she has a copy-paste script that she pastes under her small caption. Let us see right here. This is a post. If we haven't met, hi, hello, I'm Shelby Sapp. Once again, if we haven't met, hi, hello, I'm Shelby Sapp. If we haven't met, hi, hello, I'm Shelby Sapp. So this copy-paste script ends with a call to action, but let's analyze it even further. Let's analyze all of the stuff that are in this text. Let me just adjust this. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Okay. If we haven't met, hi, hello, I'm Shelby Sapp. I used to be the girl serving you coffee for $8 an hour. This should prove that she did not come from a background of money. She is not a Nepo baby. She is not someone that is special. Rather, she just came from a very, very mundane and very normal environment and very normal background. She didn't do anything other than a minimum wage job. But now I've built my literal dream through the grind of sales. After she established that she has came from a very relatable environment, she has now built the dream that she is now living her dream life through sales. After that, she gets to something very interesting. No, sales doesn't have to be pushy. No, it doesn't mean being a slimy, aggressive sales bro. What she's doing right here is what we call pre-handling objections. And in this specific instance, there is a specific stereotype about salespeople which either look pushy or slimy and aggressive, and she wants to abolish that from the start. She wants you to remove this thought from your head just so that you are more open to the idea of joining sales. Once you are more open, directly the next thing that she preaches is her program, My She Sales Academy, remote closers, close, yada yada yada. But she directly lists that after removing that initial ambiguity. And then after that comes a bit more of education. Then she starts talking about the pros, about as a remote closer, you won't be paying for leads, you won't have to start a new business, and you won't have to be in office with it all being remote. So she started this by saying she is relatable. She did not come from an interesting, from a wealthy, from a Nepo baby background. She then said that this allowed her to build her dream life. And then she positioned the solution that allowed her to do that. And then, after a bit of education, she is now talking about the pros. And the next step is that she is saying that this is not easy. This is not a cakewalk. This is not for someone who is afraid of hard work. This is also another crucial piece of information that should pre-handle something very bad, which is the concern of this being an MLM or a pyramid scheme. And she asserts that by saying closing takes skill, consistency, and hard work, but it has changed her life once again and the women that she trained. And finally, she ends this whole text by a call to action, by inviting people that would be interested in her coaching to send class, and people that actually have programs to be sent in coach. And whenever you send any of that, you'll be receiving an automated message like this with an application, or whether you send class, you will be receiving a link to join her mastermind. We're gonna talk about all of this in a second, but let's just understand what she's doing right here. First things first, she established her background. She is not special. Then she built the dream life. Then she pre-handled objections. Then she put a top of the mind, which was her program, as the thing that you should link in your mind whenever you're hearing about dream life, about remote closing, about high ticket sales. And then after a bit of education, she lists more pros, pre-handled more objections, then a call to action. And this format of the text made all of her MoFu and BoFu content driving so much more leads that go and send her this message, and all of these get driven into her webinar. So, this is how her marketing on Instagram works. Now we're gonna go to her second biggest profile, which is her TikTok account. Her TikTok account isn't as big as her Instagram. It only has, I'm saying it only, compared to Instagram, it has only 890K followers, but she posts a hella more on there. She posts almost 5 to 7 times a day. But the specialty about TikTok is it's tofu based. You're going to find most of the content right here. Most of it should be tofu. And the type of content between these two platforms is a bit different, where in Instagram, Tofu was more about flexing, showing her G-Wagon, showing all of her life and all of that jazz. But in TikTok, it's more about relatability and humanization. That's why in most of her videos, you're going to see a FaceTime format videos. You're going to see her lip syncing for viral audios. You're going to see her more like Shelby Sapp the human, not Shelby Sapp the millionaire. And the reason that is because the TikTok audiences are much more skeptical into buying, less inclined to buy or do more actions than the Instagram audiences, and need much more value and trust to be sold. With that said, even the Mofu and Bofu are a bit different in that way, where Mofu, she is now educated and given pure value. Even the way that in Instagram she was educating, yet at the same time she was putting her text and positioning her she sells academy. No, in TikTok, she is not allowed to do that. Otherwise, she will kill all credibility with the leads in TikTok there. And finally, in Bofu, she is now directly showing her academy. This is not different. But the biggest difference is between Tofu and Mofu. That's why the TikTok audience is like a C tier audience compared to the Instagram audience, which is an A or an S. The TikTok audience is really a B or a C tier. And in the same way, the split between the content now is much different than Instagram. And in the same way, her content is split into the three separate, the 60-20-20, where 60% of her content is Sofu, 20% is Mofu, and 20% is Bofu. Now, her third platform is YouTube. And even though she's not using YouTube to its full potential, like how most people use it, though she doesn't really need it because she has some other stuff, but for her YouTube channel, she doesn't really have a lot of subscribers. She has almost 35K subs, where she is averaging almost one post every 2 months. Her content on YouTube is Mofu based, where most of her content right now is Mofu, some of it is Sofu, and only one video we can see right here is Sofu. For her context, she is using YouTube just as another contact point. where she builds further trust, but she doesn't really bother to convert that trust into actionable steps or to actually sell using YouTube, which for me is a lost opportunity. She could have much more leads, much more contacts, much more trust, and target another audience using YouTube. But I guess she doesn't really need it because the job of YouTube, she does it with her other channel, which is the webinars. She still should value this nonetheless. The split of YouTube, however, is a 30-60-10. 30% is tofu, 60% is mofu, and 10% is bofu. We understand what this means so far. She also has some extra social medias, nothing big, just really existence there. A very small profile on X where she has less than 1,000 followers, and a decently sized Facebook page. Nothing really big, she just exists there once again as another contact point where she can drive the audiences that would be looking for her through these social medias, other than the big two right here, other than her Instagram and TikTok. These are her two biggest channels and her two biggest sources of leads and people that would be attracted to her. And all of these people, all of them should go or actually go into her website, which is her biggest and most crucial element in all of this funnel. And this is where all of the magic happens, not specifically in this homepage, rather in this landing page of her masterclass. Now, what she is doing in this masterclass is she is doing what we call a webinar funnel. She is inciting people to sign into her webinar, which we will talk about in a minute. And in this webinar, she does all of the rest of educating, nurturing, and then she finally converts them into being paying leads. The way she does that is by hosting weekly webinars where she provides free value, educates and nurture people even further, and she sells them directly her program. Now, the purpose, or actually the structure, is usually once you click save my free spot right here or RSVP for this masterclass, you get this pop in. In this pop in, you will be able to put your name, your email address, and your phone number. And this email address and phone number will be serving as even further points of contact, where she will be sending you reminding emails, reminding text, and you will be kept in their databases for future upsells. For if, for example, you were inclined to buy and you reached a very late stage in the funnel, they will be able to contact you back, to nurture you back, to talk to you even further. And after you register, you will be met with a thank you page where she has included a video that seems semi personal, yet at the same time, it does not seem formal at all. And this is very crucial for people that would be just trying something online like this and they don't really know if this is a good decision or not. The purpose of this video is to micro assure them that what they are doing is the right action and to incite them to check for the next steps. Right here, she is sending them a reminding email about her webinar. That's why she invites them to check their inbox. Now, her landing page does a lot more than just reserving a spot for her webinar. She also probes a lot more on the problems that her ICP might be having, especially if people that would be tired from having degrees and corporate jobs and working their 9 to 5, or if they want to learn new skills and being a part of a community, and if they also want to work remote and not just be stuck to a desk. And also, this webinar page serves for some further pre-qualifying and pre-handling for the objections, where she tries to filter out the people that would really just be curious but won't be really interested in being part of a community, or they're not ready to invest in themselves. And it's also pre-handling that objection of it being like a get rich quick scheme or an MLM and so on. And then finally, she places herself not as your friend, not as your relatable aunt, rather now she is Shelby Sapp, the businesswoman. And this serves as another establishment of authority and trust. So, with that said, what exactly is her offer? Sales Academy is a high ticket online program where she is teaching young, ambitious women how to be remote closers for high ticket fitness offers, for business coaches, for mentors, and all of that jazz. She has a dedicated Instagram for her offer. And another way she markets for it is through testimonials and sales sequences. For example, if we go through the testimonials right here, she is putting all of her student wins, as you can see. And this should be building more social proof and credibility. And she incites people to take more action via her sales sequences, whether through Instagram or TikTok, where she is providing a clear narrative structure, is putting a call to action. Although these sales sequences should never appear as salesy or corny, they should appear as genuine story or advice followed by a call to action. Now let's dive just really quick into some of these sales sequences without taking too much time. Let's just go through them. Right, y'all, I'ma talk my shit if that's okay with y'all. Like this is not the tone of a businesswoman or of someone that really wants to appear authoritarian or if someone trying to sell. Rather, it's just feeling like you're going to hear a controversial opinion or you're going to be met with something different than what you're really hearing, not really a sales pitch. And this is what's interesting about her sales sequences is that they should never end. They are not supposed to sound like a sales pitch. Once again, I'm not gonna say you have to dropship t-shirts from China or whatever. This is some more this pre-handling of the objection. People once they would hear, oh, this is easy money or whatever, they are going to think dropshipping, buying some stuff from China, side hustles, whatever, whatever. Yet she clears that directly that we are in the online creator economy with a $250 billion in business, and they need remote closers to convert leads and paid clients. She follows it up by more education, where she explains more about the business. She talks about the need for closers and people that would be closing all of those leads. After she does that, she then follows it up by the dream life. She builds a dream for the people that would be reading these sales sequences directly and subconsciously linking it directly into remote closing. So your new day-to-day life as a remote closer, Miss Girl, looks like this. You'll be earning up to 900. It sounds like a dream life to really do just open Zoom, show them a business, and then you are earning to 900. And she is linking this directly with being a remote closer and with being a girl, obviously. Because as we said in the start, she has nailed down her targeting and her ICP, and she is always talking to them and always addressing to them. In the next step, she is doing some more jazz. She is clearing all of that directly because she knows these are probably the ideas that you have in your mind right now. And then after all of these steps, she put a call to webinar. She is now linking her webinar. And then finally, she follows it up by an urgency call where she puts her webinar once again and she has a last chance just to build a bit of urgency. Now, as we saw with this sales sequence, essentially and most importantly, it should never appear as salesy. It should never sound like a sales pitch. The most essential part is you should be given a moderate amount of value, but at the same time, it should feel genuine and nice. Same thing is happening with TikTok, except with a different format. As we will see, I won't be going through all of this because it's really sequence right here. Instead of it being like a narrative or a story, it's more of an advice slash tips. That's why we'll see number one, move out of your hometown. Number two, the complete opposite, yada yada, all of that, yada, and then they do that. Though, a fair warning is people in TikTok did not respond well into this type of content. She did not get a lot of views, and most people did not really comment what she was doing. That's why I said the TikTok audience is really a C audience in these format. That's why you should always prioritize Instagram in these formats rather than TikTok, or just be careful if you want to use something similar to that. Okay, now that we talked about how she markets for herself, her content, where all of her leads come from, we talked about all of this webinar. Now let's see what happens exactly once you save your spot from the landing page and once you are signed up to a webinar. Directly after you opt in, you will be receiving emails. The first two emails that you'll be receiving will be directly next to each other. The one would be a confirmation in a Google Cal, Google, whatever you use, and the next one will be another congratulation and hype, which should be another certainty and asserting for the people that have signed up to her masterclass that yes, this is actually the right thing to do. And you have done a good thing by signing up to this. As we can see right here in her email, she is a certain certainty, making sure the ICP feel heard, appreciated, and loved in a personalized way. If we zoom in just a little bit right here, we can see the language used in this email is not how an email structured. Rather, it looks like a personalized message and is directed directly to her ICP, which is once again young, ambitious woman. She starts her email, you really did that. It's actually a big fucking deal. And that deserves to be celebrated. This one sounds a bit AI. We'll deal with it. Bitch, you're taking action. That hot girl energy, I can feel it through the screen already. Can't wait to see your face. Love you, Shelby. Kiss. This is the type of messages that you will see from an email that has the purpose of it feeling personal and feeling like an actual email sent by a person, not really an automated response after signing up into something. It doesn't really sound like congratulations on your opt-in, we're happy to see you, yada yada, or all that stuff. Rather, it sounds like something written by Shelby herself And Shelby sent it in that direct moment. And this is the tone that she is trying to conserve throughout all of her channels. And with it, she builds that connection and maintains it with her ICP. The next email serves as another layer of hype where she sends it once again just to keep that connection going. And in this email is where she sends the details of her webinar, where it's happening. She sends a Zoom link of that. She states the date, the time, and everything needed. And in this email, she does something very clever, which is she adds an extra call to action for them to ask a question. She tells them what's the number one burning question you have about high ticket sales, and to send it as a reply to it. That she would be replying to it and invites them even further to take this action by saying, if you reply, I'll send you a special something. Thank you for showing up, yada yada. This is a very clever technique that she used right here, which should show her people from her ICP that are ready to take further action, not just be really subscribed. Because most of us, when they really start receiving email blasts or whatever, they really just start ignoring all of these emails or they're not really concerned. But for someone from her ICP that is genuinely interested about high ticket sales, obviously they have a question. And if they have enough interest and Shelby has built enough trust in her funnel at this point, they would be sending her that email. And at this point, they will be a very hot lead that would be ready to take action. So they would be someone that should be put on very considerate attention in the later stages of the funnel. Is this the last email or there is another one? I guess this is the last email. So once again, this last email serves as another layer of pre-handling of the objections where she probes even further on the pain. She widens more the gap between the dream life that she built and established that only high ticket closing and only her program will be leading to, and your current life, which is either your 9 to 5, working under someone, and all of that jazz. And she finally positions her program as the solution. So, with that said, now we will get to webinar day. The way her webinars are structured is under two phases. The first phase is where she nurtures her leads even further and educates them even more. She once again presents that we are all here trying to get more money. She has come from this very poor background. She has now had just friends that she was just a high school girl. She had no knowledge from that. Then she heard high ticket sales and then she started going on that. And then she hits a bit on the urgency, calling out people that won't be doing this in months, do that rather inciting them to do that stuff as soon as possible, then showing them all of the opportunities possible. And then once again, inciting people to take action and just type fire in the chat. Now, I'm pretty certain that some triggers or should have auto triggers, or from the Zoom summaries, I'd be assuming she would be filtering out the people that type this in chat and add them to further nurturing sequences or incite them more steps to go on more steps of the funnel. And then after we get to the second phase. The second phase is where she directly positions her academy, her solution, and then she starts converting people. Here, she is talking about how she dominates the high ticket sales industry. So she is putting herself once again with authority. She is showing them all of the opportunities that are them for, and then finally inciting them for a call to action to actually buy. And she has this very standard message where she says that normally she drops a checkout link, but today she's not doing it. Spoiler alert, she never does it. But the way these sales are structured is after a form, she would be put in a qualification form, and through this qualification form, people are either qualified enough to book a call with the closer or they're not. I'm going to talk about all of this in the backend section, but at this point, the customer journey is almost 80% done. They are nurtured, they have been captured, nurtured, converted, and now the only step with the advisor call, book that call with the closer, with the one that should actually make sure for them that they would be putting that payment, and then the last qualification before they step foot into her academy. So now her backend is really simple. It starts by the form that the people had filled below, and through this form, people get that final qualification. This final qualification should be a highly specific and specialized questions. Most of them should be around the age, the location, the financial qualification, the financial capabilities, their intent, whether they actually want to join her She Sells Academy or whatever, or they're just wasting her time. If they are unqualified from this form, this is the end of the road for them. For example, if we say in the financial capability, if you find someone with a credit score of 500, obviously you won't be inciting someone like that to pay 5K for her program. Or if you find someone that has in their bank account just less than $500, you once again won't be inciting these people to actually join the program because they won't really be a good asset that would join, and it might just give you either more pushback, ruin your reputation, or not really have something very special. That's why we should have a form qualification that should be very specialized and very carefully put together. After they are qualified, they would be going into a CRM, something like Go High Level or something like GHL or Close.com. And what this CRM does is it just organizes all of these leads, asserts them between the setter, closer, the sales team, all of that tech stack that she has. And from the lead perspective, at this stage, if they are qualified, they would be having a good call with them until you close, and then congratulations, you have received your payment. Or you will not be closed. Then after you'll be following a nurturing sequence. Some of the other setters or the sales reps will be following up with you until you get into the qualification. And then you will go back into the form and to be once again qualified. If you are qualified, you go through the steps once again. If not, it is the end of the road for you. So her simple formula is getting all the leads from these social medias and her website, driving all of them. She converts. Then through her webinar, once they set the call with the closer, once they sign up, they get into the backend tech stack, and then they are either closed or rebooked until they close again. As simple as that. This is exactly how she made all of her $5 million and how she went from being a minimum wage girl into being the millionaire businesswoman that she is. Although, if I were to give some personal advice, I'd say that she should focus a bit more on long form content, something like podcast, longer form content. Because as we saw right here in her YouTube channel, her longest video and her bottom of the funnel content is the one that got the most amount of views, as we the most popular video in all of her channel, which was the lowest in the funnel. So YouTube can be a very valuable asset, especially for her. So I guess that she needs extra special attention to it. Also, I would advise her to have more high quality content, something like more free courses, appearing more on her business Instagram, because I saw on her business Instagram, it was just a bunch of random women. I guess those are her closers, but I'd like to see her even more on her business Instagram. She can also hire a lot more setters to recapture lost leads, because throughout this funnel here, throughout all of these emails, at some point you might be having people that won't be attending to the webinar. You might be having people that would be sending the fire and sending all of this, but till this last step of the webinar and not actually booking. So hiring a lot of setters should really fix this issue of all of the drop off. Contact them once again, figure out where the problems were, and then fix those issues later on. And then finally, I would advise, if she has some higher tiers in her academy, something like a specialized one-on-one program or masterminds, something like a high-ticket offer ladder, like selling group coaching, selling personalized training, selling one-on-one blueprints, selling masterminds, online reunions, all of that stuff. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Shelby Sapp breakdown. Now, if you are a creator and you try to make more money online, scale up to 50K or 100K per month online, you can apply. I'll be leaving my Calendly link in my description, or you can send me Scale on Instagram. Or if you are a growth operator and you want to learn how you can manage, scale, or sign bigger clients, you can apply for my one-on-one mentorship. We can work together and let's get that bag rolling, yo.